Today, we're going to get into the healthy you. How do you get to living a healthy lifestyle all of the time rather than all this craziness that I see out there? And what I mean by that is I'm referring to the yo-yo dieting. People are making all these promises. Hey, lose 20 pounds in 20 days, 30 pounds in 30 days. You know, so-and-so lost 40 pounds. And that's great, I suppose, if you were able to maintain it. More often than not, the majority of those people are gaining the weight back. And so what are you seeing? You're seeing this vicious cycle of losing weight, then as soon as you're going off this diet, you're gaining it. And then you get to a certain point where you go, oh my God, I gained all the weight back. And what do? You go on another diet. And then you drop the weight, and then all of a sudden, we're gaining it right back. And you're seeing this dink, 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 dink. And sometimes, unfortunately, what you're seeing is the long-term trend. Your weight's going up in the long term. And so that madness needs to stop. And so obviously something is not working. And I don't think that those short-term diets are part of the solution. In fact, I think they're a big part of the problem. How do we get past that? How we get past that is to focus on habits. We get so caught up sometimes in some of these programs, and hey, I'm guilty of it, right? I was doing some of these. There's so much information in some of these, right? I mean, you look at many of these books, many of these programs, and you know, you get these brochures, and they've got colored pictures of all the exercises, and you know, they're all the same. I mean, I bet you've got 2 or 3 or 4 of them somewhere, and then they've got detailed plans of food and recipes, and then you're supposed to follow them to a strict ding. It's too complicated. They've taken something that is very simple and made it complicated. And what I want to show you is that there's an approach. We're going to focus on one habit at a time. I'm going to start with water. So I'm telling you, start drinking water. And what you're going to see is just with that one habit, you're going to start seeing changes. And so even if, say, for example, you're going to do a diet, that's fine. Do your crazy diet if you want to stick with that approach for now. But then pick the water habit and go, okay, hey, I did the diet for 30 days. Just because I'm done with the diet, I'm not going to just stop drinking water and going back to drinking sodas and crap. I'm going to keep drinking water. So now I've got one habit in place, and I've got it established after 3 months. Now, what that means is I've got one habit in place, and after I've got it solid, I'm seeing some changes, and then I'm going to go, you know what? I'm going to focus on another habit. Breakfast, right? Breakfast is an important meal of the day. I'm going to make sure that I have a healthy breakfast every single day. The rest of my diet may be crap, right? I may have to go out to business lunches, I may go out to dinner, but at least, you know what? I'm going to start having a healthy breakfast every day. And I'm going to focus on that for, say, 2-3 months. And say at the end of 5 or 6 months, what do I have now? I've got 2 solid habits. 1, I'm drinking water all of the time, every single day. And 2, I'm having a healthy breakfast every single day. Okay, so now there's 2. Are you seeing what we're doing now? Have you caught on yet? Because now here we go. 3 habits. I'm going to throw vegetables into the mix. And so now say after 9 months, I have 3 solid habits. Drinking water, solid breakfast, 3 servings of vegetable every day. Do you think that if I have included those 3 habits into my lifestyle, I'm going to see some changes? You're damn right you're going to. So now we have 3 habits in place. Now here's where it gets fun. There's this other concept that I think of is, I call it spillover. You start doing something, and chances are you're going to start impacting other things. So, for example, we talked about the water. Water's a good habit. And what does the water do? All of a sudden, you're not going to be drinking as much of this other crap. So the good habit pushes out the bad habit. Spillover. Now you're doing water, you're doing breakfast, and you know what? Chances are, as you're putting those 2 into place over the long term, you're going to start thinking in the back of your mind, you're going to go, you know what? I had a good breakfast. You know what? Maybe I should make better food choices throughout the rest of the day. Now, yeah, they may not be perfect, But chances are that you're not going to eat out as much, or you're going to be thinking in those terms. Again, spillover. I'm not telling you to worry about lunch or dinner, all that crap. I'm saying water, breakfast. But spillover is going to jump into place. Then by the time you get to the third habit, now vegetables. Where am I going to put the vegetables into the mix? Again, not telling you how to set it up. You need to figure it out for yourself. And you may have picked other habits, but what I'm saying is now you're stacking these habits on top of each other. You're getting spillover because you're doing other stuff, and you're going to see some results. And those results are going to come over time. Yeah, they're going to be a little slower. Yeah, you may not get the crazy 30-pound loss in 30 days, but I'd like to think that by the time you're setting up those habits, you're going to have a lot more control over the long term. And you're going to see some gradual changes, and then chances are, because they are habits, they are meant to stick around, you're going to see those long term. Now, say you've got those 3 habits, you get to habit number 4. I mean, by now you're now tweaking stuff. Chances are you were probably working out when you were establishing these 3 habits. I didn't even mention that, did I? Maybe now habit number 4 is I'm going to put a little bit more structure on my working out. But I'm going to make sure I exercise X number of times a week. And now you have that component. You focus on that for the next 3 months. But the focus is that you're not just doing it short term. You're setting up habits so that now there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These habits are all good habits. They're going to push out the bad habits. And over time, you really only need about 5 habits, and then all of a sudden you reach a tipping point. Don't think that you need the gazillion and a half things they make you do in half these diets to get your lifestyle into place. And I think that's part of it, is because you're depending on these people to come up with these things, and the bottom line is they're all just telling you the same thing. And most of them are basically just making you cut calories. But they are making you make better food choices. And if you start learning how to make those better food choices over the long term, without having necessarily to starve yourself, you may actually not be gaining back all that weight. And maybe you find where your healthy weight is. And that healthy weight is going to be different for all of us. But at least you can get off this vicious cycle. And now you're in control. One other thing I want to point out is, because there's a tendency, and even I got caught up in it just a moment ago, to talk about weight. Each one of us is going to have there's going to be a point where we feel good about ourselves. And I'm not telling you that it's, every single woman has to be at 115 pounds and every single man has to be 240 solid stacked muscle. No. It's going to be different for each of us. But there is that focus right now on the obesity epidemic. So that's why you hear me talking about weight sometimes. For some of you may actually be trying to gain weight. And so the same approach works. You need to learn how to eat. So you know what? When you're trying to gain that muscle mass, you're not just gaining fat. Focus on figuring out how to set the foundation for a healthy and fit you. And the way you do that, 1 habit at a time. And once you've got 1 habit, then you put the other one and you stack them up. And once you stack those up, you're going to suddenly be changing the direction of your life. This is nothing new. Actually making it happen and putting it in place, it's almost like it gets lost in the madness. I'm included in that group. I went through the whole yo-yo stuff, and eventually I'm like, you know what, this is crazy. Why wasn't I able to keep my weight, my gains? And then finally I'm like, you know what? This is good. Just start focusing on habits and don't worry about it. Let's get the foundation in place. Let's get off this yo-yo diet stuff and get something consistent in place. So hope that makes sense. We'll keep talking about it later. Pick a habit. Find one. If not, we're going to list a bunch of them in the next episode. But if you already have one in mind, that's probably you. I mean, you know what to do. Most of you already know what to do, right? You know. And so your brain's probably like, oh, you know what? Well, you should be doing this. Pay attention to what your brain's telling you. All right. We'll talk soon. Have a great one.